as a student when you're growing up, you know, whether you accept it or not, हम दिमाग में अपनी औकात बना लेते हैं. IIM में तो मतलब जाते हैं तो सबको फिन करना होता है, सबको बैंक इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर बनना होता है, या फिर कभी आजकल यूनिकॉर्न चल रहा है ट्रेंड, तो मतलब everybody wants to join a unicorn startups.
So after spending 17 years at EY and become an IB, are you saying that it's not?
It's not glamorous for sure. I don't remember the last time we exchanged notes on packages. The last time we still meet and we talk about अरे याद है कैंपस में ये किया था, भाड़ में गया पैकेज. Investment banking works is that you eat your kill, which means that if you make money, you take home a mega bonus. But if you don't, then you are worse than a pauper.
Why do iBankers sound sometimes like they're CBI agents? They can't name their clients, they can't name their projects.
Because they control nothing. iBankers के हाथ में कुछ नहीं होता है.
You've traveled to many places while you have been growing up in your life. And let's start from the very first place that you have taken birth in, and what exactly happened that brought you to Bombay, and how has been life after that?
Okay, like a quick 30-second snapshot. I started my life in Kuwait. We came back during the Iraq war. Most of you were not born probably when that happened, but this is basically a war between two countries for oil. Let's just leave it at that. And we were a family of refugees. We came back to this country. We came back and we started from scratch. But I was 7 back then, so not as impacted. Just had a more nomadic life than most of you did. Post that, been in Bombay, had a very, very typical SSC, HSC, BEXTC from Mumbai University and journey. Till, somewhere along the line, I think I applied for MBA just because everybody else was doing. मेरे सारे दोस्त कर रहे थे तो मुझे लगा मुझे भी करना चाहिए. तो did that, screwed it up badly, went to one of the lesser known MBA colleges. So I'm one of the boomerang cases, which
when did that happen? I didn't know this.
Oh, okay. So I went to one of the lesser known, I'll not take the name of the college, just out of respect, but कोई तो भी फुद्दू college में चली गई थी. Then I realized that, okay, this is not right. And then I took a second attempt at the CAT, and then I somehow managed to crack it, and that's how hell happened.
Achha, I have one question, Helly. You said आप फुद्दू college में चले गए थे. How do you know that it's a फुद्दू college? Like, वो red flags क्या होते हैं? I mean, from your time only, you can tell me. I think that is relevant even today.
I think as a student when you're growing up, whether you accept it or not, हम दिमाग में अपनी औकात बना लेते हैं कि यार मेरी औकात इसके जितनी है, and that's how you justify everything to yourself, to your parents, like मेरे को 40 आए लेकिन वो तो फेल हुआ, so then it's all fine. और rather उसको 80 आया तो ठीक है यार, वो तो stud है, मतलब that's no comparison. So somewhere in your head you've sort of calibrated that this is what I should be doing. And मेरे साथ भी ऐसा ही हुआ. I thought कि यार मेरे साथ वाले तो यहाँ पे गए, ये जो मैं जिसके साथ हूँ, जिस कॉलेज में हूँ, this is not where I thought I should have been, and that's just how you judge yourself through your peer networks, and that's when I took that second shot.
Peers के साथ साथ the sibling pressure is also there. I think that happens. Was it the case for you as well? जहाँ पे मम्मी पापा बोलते हैं यार देखो इसने तो यहाँ पे crack कर लिया, आप कहाँ चले गए?
Oh, I was the eldest kid in the family, so it was the other way around. I think my siblings faced much more pressure than I did. I was given the leeway to do, कर लो जो कर सकते हो, मतलब parents को least expectations थी, उनको लगा था graduate हो गई बहुत है, मतलब शादी करा दो. So they were very happy. They didn't want me to do post grad, and और ऊपर से और एक साल बिगाड़ा, मतलब for them it was like you are doing 3 years of MBA. Why is it required? साल waste हो रहा है. So parents had a different mindset. I had thankfully the free way to do whatever I wanted, and pressure was on the siblings.
So now let's talk about your IIM journey. When you go to an MBA institute after spending 3-4 years in an engineering college, the life is completely different, right?
Yeah.
What was the first shock that you got when you actually got into a B school? Or, it can be anything. It can be a realization, it can be experience that you had that made you feel like, यार ये दोनों दुनिया तो बहुत अलग है.
So what happens is Mumbai students and Mumbai kids are slightly different compared to Delhi kids and Andhra kids and Chennai kids and I mean kids from across the world, across the country. So what happens is when you go to this institute, जहाँ पे हर जगह के well performing or well achievers in their respective fields आते हैं, so the shock is that everybody is great. And then you suddenly realize that you are competing with not a class where you were above average, but you are competing with a class where everybody was bloody the topper from wherever they came from. So that's where the shock comes in, and because you are in a very selected premier group, and that network is what sort of hits you the most first.
So while you were having this experience, we were having a conversation and you said that extracurriculars was not something that you were very strong at. Did you kind of try to make that better while you were at IIM Lucknow? Did you actively take part in things where you became better or probably worked on your communication skills? Because academics में तो आप खराब थे नहीं is what you told me.
Yeah. I कोशिश करी थी. I think it was more of an attempt rather than a successful one. But what happens when you go on campus is that you see everybody is good at something. कोई football होगा, कोई cricket होगा, कोई probably singing होगा, something or the other. And then there are these clubs which are getting formed. Suddenly you feel, okay, if I am not developing my skill sets, I'll be left out. So then I joined some club, I joined some committees. ये सोच के कि यार मैं भी बढ़ा सकती हूँ. मतलब cricket तो मैं at the age of 21 I can't start learning, so that was a given. But whatever little I could develop, I did. Whether I learned any extracurriculars out of that or not, I don't know. I don't think I did, but I made great friends, and that network of people, that those relationships that were built over those 2 years are strong, great, and genuine relationships.
Right. It just came to my mind when you said that आप कोई भी एक college में चले गए थे. A lot of the times what happens is because we have spent 1 year, because we have spent the money, because we have spent, अभी कर लेते हैं, is what you think that just finish it off. How does it matter? कोई brand मिला नहीं मिला. And they don't retake the exam. How did you get that courage that you want to take that exam again? Or if not courage, how did you get that motivation to, probably, write the exam again?
I think it was more of a challenge. Even फुद्दू तो possible नहीं था. मतलब मेरा safety net था. वो first college was there. I had already completed a year. ऐसी मतलब हंसते हंसाते second year भी निकल ही जाता. But I think rather than motivation, it becomes a challenge. You have to ask yourself whether this is where you want to land up. And if the answer is no, then you have to try for harder. And you make it a challenge and make it something that you have to achieve. That's at least the way I thought about it.
And what challenge did you set for yourself while you were at IIM Lucknow? And what exactly did you do to achieve that?
See, it was complete herd mentality. IIM में तो मतलब जाते तो सबको फिन करना होता है, सबको बैंक इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर बनना होता है, या फिर कभी आजकल यूनिकॉर्न चल रहा है ट्रेंड, तो मतलब everybody wants to join a unicorn startup. So I think I also had the same thing because I was told this was the most glamorous place to be. Everybody said investment banking is the most difficult and glamorous job you can get out of campus. So I thought, चलो ठीक है, इसी को कोशिश करते हैं, and that was at least my mindset back then.
So after spending 17 years at EY and become an IB, are you saying that it's not?
It's not glamorous for sure. I can assure any inspiring investment banker out there that it's a lot more of grunt work than glamour. It's a lot more of marketing than finance, no matter what anybody tells you. And I think it's not glamour. You have to really like that job to be able to sustain it and continue doing it.
Okay. you said that it was a herd mentality. All of your probably batch was looking forward to that day zero company that was coming, or a day one company to get into IB. Uh, a lot of times it happens because you know for a fact that there is a lot of money that is associated with it. And the other times it happens because you have a genuine knack towards finance and you want to create a career in finance, right? The known roles that are there in finance after MBA. What was it for you in your case? And how many of you guys were selected at IB roles at that year? Do you remember? Do you have a figure? Uh, did a lot of them continue with the way you continued for so many years?
So ours was a batch of 300. L was the fourth ranking IIM back then. All the IBs and the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanleys, Merrill Lynch, all wanted to go to the ABC. Nobody wanted to come to L. Back then, there was only one investment banking, which was Ernst and Young investment banking company, which came on campus. Two of us were selected, and we were the only two who went into investment banking and continued that role. I think my peer continued for a few years and then he moved into private equity. I continued for 17 years before deciding I want to move to private equity. But for both of us, it's been a natural progressive journey. Having said that, there were many others who joined different places across the country and then moved to investment banking. So it's not the be all and end all कि campus से job नहीं मिला. If you want to do that, you can do that after campus also. So at this point of time, from my batch, there must be a fair amount of handful of people who are doing that, doing investment banking, and none of us are actually the ones who got it from campus.
So, if I have to understand, what exactly does MBA teach you that makes you a good investment banker? That probably someone who doesn't have a degree, don't have the advantage of.
I think largely it's just the holistic perspective of business. Because when you're doing banking, you need to get a little bit of perspective of finance, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of even ops for that matter. And you get this holistic perspective, you get a perspective of how it all comes together as different work streams into a business. So that application is one part, but that's a very, very small part of the whole job. What it really gets you is the networks. And if I have to reflect on my batch of 2007 today, every single batchmate of mine is a super achiever in his or her own right. Somebody is a CEO, somebody is an MD, कोई किसी का head है, कोई किसी का regional head है, कोई किसी का product head है. Some of them are like doing NGOs and running really successful NGOs out there. So people are achievers in their own right, and the kind of network and access that peer group generates is probably what has helped me most in my career than anything else that MBA has taught me.
Do you think that the same kind of learning, except for the peer group that you get, can be achieved through certification courses? Because now you have a lot of online certification courses, and I'm sure a lot of players also approach you to be part of the certification courses since you have such a long experience.
I think the academic part of it can definitely be done. There's no doubt about it. What you're missing out on is the networking, which I don't think a certification course will be able to help. And also the learning platform that you get as a MBA school, because you are, for 2 years, you're in there, in the rigor, not thinking about anything else. This is the only thing dominating your mind. So it's an extremely high value learning opportunity from your peers, from your professors. All the things that I learned on campus, 10 saal baad, if I had to open a book or Google it and learn those things, it's a task for me. So just that platform where everything is available at a snap. चलो कुछ डाउट है तो किसी को पूछ लो, कोई ना कोई स्टड होगा जिसको कुछ ना कुछ आता ही होगा. You get that from people around you. The way you work together in teams, the people management, the entire ecosystem that you get, that's probably what you like and you lack in a certification course. But I think the learning or the academic piece can definitely be covered through a certification course.
Did your friends, celebrate your EY and a lot of money that you're going to earn with the package that you were earning, or they were envy of you at that year?
I don't think any of my friends envied me. They were earning more than me, I'm sure. So I think that's what I said, that everybody who's a batchmate is doing extremely well. And beyond a point, you stop caring about the packages. I don't remember the last time we exchanged notes on packages. The last time we still meet and we talk about, अरे याद है campus में ये किया था, भाड़ में गया package. Because because at the end of 10-15 years, what you are earning stops mattering, because we are all earning enough in our respective rights.
But you know, a lot of these students who are sitting here, they look at that package, they look at that, you know, I mean, that makes it more lucrative. You know, we have been having this conversation since morning where B school after B school is saying that, you know, package is the only thing that people see. Can we change that in your opinion in the B school space? Or do you think there is a need to change that?
I think there is a need to change that. Having said that, the reality is that it gets extremely difficult. That's what I saw when I joined. So let's not be hypocritical around it. That's what campus पे job लगती है तो सबसे पहला question is like package क्या है? Package क्या है? क्योंकि मतलब that's the way, that's the psyche, that's how we are wired. Probably it's easier said, it's good gyan to give, that at the end of 20 years, which is where I am today, it will not matter. When you leave campus, it may be, you might be euphoric or you might be extremely disappointed. Take it in your stride and move on, because just remember, आज से 10 साल बाद फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
Okay, let's talk about investment banking now. You worked with EY, it's one of the leading firms as well. You know, first kind of work that you get is probably the most challenging when you're getting into any sector that's possible. Was it for you as well, or as you always, you know, used to sail through your academics, you sail through your first assignment and the first kind of job that you had to do as an investment banker?
The first, and depends on whether you have work-ex or you don't have work-ex, but the first errand or whatever work that you will get in your first day of job will be extremely disappointing. You'll be like, यार ये करने के लिए मैं IIM से आया हूँ. That's where you start off, and that's the reality. It's not challenging. It's something you could have done when you were 12 years old. मुझे लगता है कि यार ये research करके मेरे को PPT बनाने को बोल रहा है, मैं तो IIM से आया हूँ, why should I have to do all this? But that is where you have to start. This is more relevant in investment banking, but not extremely irrelevant in other fields. You have to start from ground zero. There is no other way to go up your career ladder.
Did you question your choice of why you joined investment banking in the first couple of years while you were working there? I mean, were there instances where that made you feel like, you know, probably this is not the field that I want to be?
There were enough amount of times I have said investment banking is overrated. I questioned the glamour. For 2 years I told everyone, नहीं मैं शायद investment banking में हुई नहीं, मैं शायद किसी और में पहुंच गई हूँ. I actually went and asked the HR, because in EY it was named as corporate finance advisory, not investment banking. And I have questioned the HR twice, is this investment banking? Because you are calling it corporate finance advisory, I don't think I'm doing investment banking. But yeah, there are enough number of times you question. But I think the thumb rule is that if there are 50% of the days when you can wake up and be excited about your work, you are at the right place.
And probably that definitely was the case, you know, keeping in mind the number of years that you have put in that organization. I'm sure the HR also has taken note of it after you have pointed it out to her. Help me understand, you know, some of the projects that you do that stay with you for the longest time, right? And the earlier the better, because those are the ones that last an impression on your memory as well. What was the first project that you still remember? Probably it was a failure that you have had. I mean, it can also be a project that you can remember. Tell us exactly what happened.
Yeah, so my first project was with one of these companies called HCC. I don't think the younger folks will know the company. But all of you know the Bandra Worli C-Link? हाँ तो ये कंपनी ने वो C-Link बनाया था. So I am that old. When passed out, the ceiling did not exist. So that's how old I am. So my first project was when this was getting made, and we were taken on a ride, and I went. वो ceiling पे जो pillar है ना उसके ऊपर गए थे to get the whole view and everything. And my job was to raise money for that project because the project did not have money. So that was my job and that was my project. Uh, सब किया मतलब पैसा रेज करने के लिए सब वी टाइड अप आई वोंट गेट इनटू द टेक्निकल डिटेल्स अराउंड इट बट लेट्स जस्ट से दैट 18 months 75 hour weeks I did enough work and I learned enough about the ceiling to be able to sell that and to be able to say that please give money to this project because this project is stuck. Things were supposed to happen and then the Lehman crisis happened. And just a few hours or some period before it was supposed to happen, मेरे 18 महीने की मेहनत was down the drain. That is the reality. So you don't get compensated. The way investment banking works is that you eat your kill, which means that if you make money, you take home a mega bonus, but if you don't, then you are worse than a pauper. So that's how it is. You eat your kill. You are basically a shark out there trying to, hunt. And if you kill, then you get to eat. Otherwise, you go hungry. So that was one of my first failures, and it was the most enriching learning experience for me because I was a chota bacha associate. Was very deeply emotionally connected to the project. I was literally like disappointed. Is not the strong enough word to say how I felt when that project went down the drain.
And also, it probably happens because you have set a lot of dreams, right? Like you've thought that probably this is something that I've seen others doing. ये मेरे seniors कर रहे हैं, मेरे alums कर रहे हैं. I will also probably become like that because you're very aspirational at that point in time.
Everybody was making money also. सब पैसे बना रहे. It was like this was pre-Lehman. Just 2 years before Lehman, you see people just making a lot of money, and I thought, okay, मेरा भी ये हो जाएगा. I will also take home something, but it happens.
So what exactly happened during the Lehman then? Because we have spoken to a lot of people who were working in IB, and सब थोड़े हिल गए थे around that time. Where you hit massively during that time, where there career threats that happened for you also, where there projects that didn't happen. Did you have to be on bench for some time because of this?
No, because India was not as badly hit as the US was. It just had a lot of ripple effect from US. So markets were slow, deals were slow, things were not happening, money was not coming in. I mean, I can go into the economics around it, but I know it's 5:30 p.m., so I'll spare it. Just things were extremely slow, and in investment banking terms what that means is deals are not happening, and that's why you are not making your bonuses.
So now let's talk about the most important or the most valuable project that you probably have done, or maybe something that you remember because of certain very, very different reasons. I mean, it can be some people that you interacted with, or it can be where you felt that this deal is definitely not happening, but something happened where it actually kind of transpired.
Probably the one that strikes out the most was when I was helping a French company come into India. They had no understanding of what India is. And that's why I tell you investment banking is more marketing than finance, because no amount of numbers is going to convince that French company to make that investment in the country. But it was a long journey and a huge trust building exercise with that company to not only convince them on the country but also of the sector and the investment and how they should be going about it. It just stands out the most because it reminds you what investment banking truly is. It's just about this massive trust building networking exercise more than any financial model out there.
Helly, why do iBankers sound sometimes like they're CBI agents? They can't name their clients, they can't name their projects.
Because they control nothing. iBankers के हाथ में कुछ नहीं होता है. It's they will name their clients and then their client will come and say तुमने मेरा नाम लिया तुम्हें business नहीं मिलेगा. So that's the main reason they are the most guarded, because you never know who gets offended by what statement. It's like the we're the opposite of the press.
But how does it feel to work in an environment like this? When you grow up, also the kind of pressure also increases. The kind of I mean, it's like targets, right? That you also have to achieve as when you're working in a firm. Uh, what is one question that I have is, what is the growth like for somebody who has graduated like you from IML, gotten into a role of something that you did not understand because the JD mentioned something else. I'm sorry, the name of the position was something else, and you were expecting it to be something else. But from there, how does one grow? That's one. And with growth, how much demanding it becomes as a job?
Between an IIM and probably a non-IIM, I would give a 5-year kind of a benchmark to set the ground to zero. What that means is that till you're about 5 years out of campus, there is this brand and the tag which drags you along. तुम perform करो ना करो, अरे IIM का है यार, अच्छा ही होगा. That's the psyche, that's the mentality that pushes you along in your job. After the 6th year, it's only what you've done in the last 5 years that matter. Beyond that, your brand is of no use. So that's how growth, I would define growth between an IIM and a non-IIM, or how and any other college, you're out there, you have 5 years to establish yourself. If you've established yourself, by then you are going to perform as well or maybe better than any IIM student out there. So that's where it is. So it's 75 hours our weeks when you start off, but as time progresses, you probably get in more efficient, or you get in more you start caring less. One of the two happens. I don't know which of the two happens, but the 75-hour weeks go away. Now you're just making sure somebody else is doing the 75-hour weeks and you are not working as much. So it does get better in terms of hours, but much 10 times more taxing in terms of pressure, in terms of people management, in terms of targets, and all those things that you would have anyways heard about.
Helly, have you worked somewhere abroad, or have you largely been based in India where you have worked in?
I've largely been based in India, but of course I've been across, I've spent about 6 months in Singapore. I'm currently working for a Canadian pension fund, so that's a Canada-based company, so
Yeah.
I do shuttle a lot. I do spend about couple of months a year in Canada, and yeah, Europe because of clients. So enough travel to know how people in other countries work, but otherwise roots in India.
I'll come to the Canadian stint, but before that, when you were working with Singapore, a client in Singapore, when you were working there, what did you see different in terms of the kind of work that they do, or the clients that you handled there, in comparison to the clients that you have handled in India? If significantly something stood out for you while you were, kind of working for them on something?
I would say it's the hierarchy is much more pronounced globally than in India. So in India, you have more of an entrepreneurial culture in most organizations. Maybe not all, but अगर तू कर सकता है तो कर ले. Doesn't matter whether you are a junior or a senior or a mid-level person. कर सकता है तो कर ले. मतलब क्या फर्क पड़ता है? But in other geographies and other regions, it's much more defined. If I am an associate, I will only do what an associate is supposed to do. I will not go beyond my boundaries. So that there is a much more clear definition of your JD, of your role, and it's a good and bad thing, because it's a good thing because then you have the option to do more, but it's a not so good thing because बगल वाला ज़्यादा कर रहा है तो मेरे को भी करना पड़ेगा pressure में आके. So it works both ways.
Tell me now a little bit, Haley, about your decision. So after 5 years, you said that you either get better at it or you start caring less. सबसे पहले तो आप बताओ आप कौन सी कैटेगरी में थे एंड हाउ डिड यू मैनेज टू continue this for 17 long years? That's like a lot of commitments, like marriage.
Yeah, I think I stopped. I think it was a mix for me. There were periods when I started caring less, and there were periods when some of the things I just got more efficient. Um, and that's linked to your question around the other commitments. So, when you are getting married, you are in a different zone, you are, busy in your life, you start caring less. फिर शादी होती है 1 साल बाद तुम्हें लगता है यार मैं तो बहुत पीछे रह गई suddenly you pick up pace and then you start getting more efficient. Then you have a child and then again your worldview changes. You say, oh, all this doesn't matter, investment banking, all that is fine, but I have to focus on something else. And then I had my child when I was 7 years into investment banking. So at that point of time I felt yaar मैंने सब देख लिया है. I've been there, done that, I've done enough, and I would just want to take a nice, good break. I don't care anymore. I can survive. So that's how you go through these phases, and somewhere along the line, life also overlaps and interplays, and has an influence on which phase you are in.
Um, did you manage to give enough time to your, sorry, it might sound a little personal, but you can choose not to answer. Did you manage enough time to raise your kids because you were in a job that demanded so much from you?
I have my view and I have my daughter's view. So I think she's fine. I mean, that's my worldview. कि ठीक ही है, जैसी भी है, मतलब she's turned out okay. She thinks I've not, and she feels that I did not give her enough time. But what happens is that kids are so resilient, they adapt to the way their parents are. So at the end of the day, now if I am with her more than 4 hours a day, she'll tell me, please go, you're nagging me. So it's fine. We go through our adaptation journey, but a working mom creates an extremely independent child, and that's my learning, and that's not my individual life learning. It's a learning from my peers. Um, a non-working mom will also obviously have a lot more to give their child than probably what a working mom can give. But the kind of independence that gets inculcated in a child of a working mom it's amazing, and I'm extremely proud of what I have been able to give to my child on that front.
A lot of women miss out on their careers because they choose to prefer one over the other.
Yeah.
And personally, if you ask me, I have a problem with that. I think you should definitely prioritize your career at some point, and your partner should be equally responsible for raising the kid. And I asked you this question. I remember I asked a gentleman also about this very question, whether you could give enough time to your kids. And I think it's a kind of a responsibility that is shared when you are in a family, right? But coming back to my question, a lot of women miss out on these opportunities. Do you see that as somebody who's a leader now, who has a say in an organization, that doesn't happen?
Yes, I have seen an extremely, pronounced change in the way organizations are looking at women employees, especially on the maternity front. Back then, which is 11 years ago, when I was on my maternity leave, for whatever reason, I took a call that I need to take a sabbatical because I need to focus on maternity at this point of time, and I took a small, short sabbatical back then. But I think if I had the flexibility and just the support system of an organization which is available today, right from 6-month leaves, work from home, you can take a break and bounce back into work. There are a number of things, and I've personally been working as a maternity coach with a number of women employees. The environment and facilitation today is great, and for every woman out there, I just strongly encourage them that if you feel you want to take a break, please take it, but please make it temporary. Maternity should not be a reason you take a permanent break in your career.
Wonderful. Let's now talk about the stint that you currently are in BCI. Again, as I told them earlier, as I told you also, help us understand what exactly BCI does. What is your role now? When did you decide that you have had enough of the world with EY and being in IB? And now you want to move into something which is completely different than what that is.
BCI is sort of private equity, but slightly on a much larger scale. This is a Canada-based pension fund. To oversimplify it, they just have money, and they are responsible for putting money in various parts of the world, and I'm responsible for their Asia investments. What that means is that I'm responsible for all the money that BCI puts in infrastructure across Asia. In India, we've done a fair amount of projects. I won't bore you with the details, but it's not completely different from what investment banking is. It's actually a very natural progression. जैसे engineering के बाद सब IIM जाते हैं, वैसे investment banking के बाद सब private equity जाते हैं. So it's a very natural progression. I think that hasn't changed. Even today, I've done the same thing what I did 20 years ago. Just that this is a more niche market, and that's why it's not as and it's more relevant for people with work-ex, so that's why it's not as known and and the current audience is not as well versed with it.
Now coming back to the kind of work that you're doing. So now what exactly changes with respect to now you had previously worked with clients to help them with their businesses or making choices whether to invest in a particular company or not. Here, what do you do?
I invest. So it's like, just say, you have, shadi mein you have this person who's responsible for making the marriage work. That's investment banking. कि लड़के और लड़की को मिला दिया. जो पंडित होता है, that is investment banker. Now I'm the ladka or the ladki, one of the two. That's the only difference. So it's extremely organic, extremely natural progression from what I was doing for the last 16, 17 years. Now it's just that it's more like choosing sides, and now I make investments rather than advise someone for making investments.
You're responsible for a lot of construction also that's going on in Bombay right now, you were telling me. So what exactly is happening? Where all is BCI present at the moment? And how do you see that related to the overall economy of the country, and how you individuals impact that in a big way?
So I have worked on and I have super specialized into infrastructure. What that means is, the sea link ho ya coastal road ho. I'm just taking these names because you would be more familiar with them. There are like probably thousands of infrastructure projects in the country, but the coastal road, the metro, the MTHL, the Bombay-Pune Expressway, जो जब लोनावाला जाते हो सब लोग toll pay करते हो. So I'm responsible for the fact that you are paying toll on that road. So we make an investment into those projects. We build those projects, and then we collect money from the users of those projects. So that's in a nutshell what I do. And as Paul put it, I'm responsible for Bombay's AQI apparently.
Yeah, that's something that I told her that, I have a problem with the AQI. I should hold you responsible. But yeah, on a serious note, how has this been? So you probably must have worked with a lot of governments, and you must have worked with a lot of private players. So what kind of a difference do you see while you're working with these two entities?
It's a sea of difference. So what I've seen is private players are a lot more knowledgeable, they are a lot more educated, they are more in touch with the world view. Government is in a different space yet. We've made some progress. Any Modi bhaks here, I'm not blaming him, but we've made progress, but we still have miles to go. I recently met the finance minister, and we laid our concerns on what we think the government should be doing to encourage more infrastructure investment, and we did all that. And at the end of it, she was like, but why do you need to make return on your investment? So I'm like, okay, we have miles to cross before the government gets more well versed with where what the reality of the world is. But having said that, both require dealing with both sets of people involve very different skill sets, and it's a world of difference.
Great. I am going to open the house for questions. I see first hand already.
Ma'am, firstly, it's an honor speaking to you. So my question is, did you know before doing MBA why you are getting into the MBA and what you wanted to do? I'm asking you this because every speaker who has been here since morning knew that why they wanted to do an MBA, because some person wanted to get into marketing, another into consulting. Uh, Personally, me, I know what I don't want to do. I don't want to do back-end coding stuff. I like people thing. I like people management. But I really don't know what I want to do, like consulting. It is very overwhelming for me. So if you could guide me on this, that would be a great thing.
Sure. Um, for me personally, I was almost in the same boat, if not entirely. I just knew that टेक नहीं करना है, समझ नहीं आता, और मुझे पता था कि मेरे से बहुत ज़्यादा फोड़ू लोग है, तो मेरी बस की बात नहीं है उनके साथ compete करना. So I was sure कि टेक नहीं करना है. And back then in 2004, either you get an Infosys or a TCS kind of a job, or you have to do an MBA. There is no third option. That was the reality of engineering. So I said, चलो अभी Infosys में तो काम नहीं करना है. So then I have to do MBA, and that was honestly my worldview when I started working towards it. But through the journey, as I progressed, I think it was more interest driven. I was getting more and more interested into accounts. Those subjects used to interest me. Marketing was something that I knew what parts of facets of marketing I liked and what I did not like. So over that journey, I had a 3-year MBA journey for whatever reason. तो मैंने सबसे 33% ज़्यादा MBA करा है. But through that journey, I was able to figure out what works for me and what doesn't, and that's where the career choices started happening.
Really, consulting and IB, these two have many similar traits in terms of multiple aspects. How did you identify that IB is your forte, or how did you eliminate consulting?
When I started off, मुझे लगा था, and I was wrong, but मुझे लगा था consulting बहुत ज्ञान है. IB में ना numbers होते हैं, it's hard numbers, quant analysis. That's how my choice happened. But with the benefit of hindsight, I would say consulting is more holistic perspective, whereas IB is extremely deal focused. In simpler terms, IB is where we will call you and we'll tell you, let's do this, and you and I will work together and get it done. Consulting is where we get together, we brainstorm ideas, how can we do this better, how can we create more impact, what is it that we need to do to make this a success. So there's a lot more holistic brainstorming and advice that's involved in consulting. So it's not only one work stream, it's finance, it's marketing, it's operations, it's sales, it's how all of these streams come together. IB is very deal focused. Deal karo, khatam karo, bahar jao.
Noted. So we got a bit idea of consulting from the last session. If you can go a deep dive into how IB deals work, or if you can just give a gist of like what is your daily task, or just an idea how does it works.
Sure. Okay, I'll try to start from as ABC as possible, but please spare me if some technicals come in, because gray hair comes at its own cost. So there are two types of IB work that you can do. You can be on the buy side, which is you are helping someone buy something, or you can be on the sell side, you're helping someone sell something or raise money for something, or raise capital, etc. If you're on the buy side, then your job is to find isko मैं किसको पकड़ा सकती हूँ, कि मतलब we should he buy A, B, C, किसको what, and why it makes sense, and what's the value at which it should happen, what are the terms around it, how should you be negotiating things, etc. And if you're in the sell side, you're still thinking किसको पकड़ा सकती हूँ, but then you are trying to market that, where you're saying कि let's create a very beautiful deck to make this look appealing. फिर एक model बनाओगे, model में you are running the numbers to make sure that the business looks much more profitable than it actually is. Then you go and speak to 20 people, you do road shows, you do pitches, and you just try and sell. And at any given point of time, an investment banker is running on 10 to 15 deals, which is 10 to 15 of such projects. Success ratio is usually 5 to 10%. यानी कि साल में अगर मैंने 20 डील पे काम किया तो दो या तीन क्लोज होगी. That's it. This ratio increases with seniority because with seniority you are also working on more deals, and the other staff is working on smaller number of deals. But that's in a nutshell how, and at an entry level, you spend probably 80% of your time making materials and doing research, and 20% of your time meeting clients and getting just understanding how to do things and just understanding from your seniors. That's how it is, and this ratio changes as you grow in your career.
One final question before I close the session, Helly. I mean, it's been a very, very long day for all of us.
I can understand.
And, a lot of these people, probably they will reach a particular B school either this year or next year. People who are watching us online in this particular video probably are also on the crossroads, right? When you are at a crossroad like this, a lot of times you don't know which is the path that is best suited for you, right? Do you hear a specific voice at that point to make that decision or a call that's coming very naturally to you? Or should you be taking advice, which we tried doing this entire day, and I'm summing it up with you? Which one should you opt for?
I would suggest that you speak to the max people that you can, whether it's people like me, whether it's people like Paul, whether it's some other folks out there. You should be speaking and learning, which will naturally lead to that voice coming out. Because the more you know, the more clarity of thought you will achieve कि मुझे ये करना है, ये नहीं करना है, वो भी achieve कर लिया तो बहुत है. Then you are clear what you want to focus on. But the mistake I did, and which is why I feel, it was that I did not do too much research. I did not speak to people. I did not do anything. सब कर रहे हैं, मैंने भी करा. I would strongly recommend the other approach, which is speak more, listen more, understand more, research more. The resources available today are much, much more than what we had. And you will naturally have that inner voice which will tell you, this is what I want to do, and then follow that voice.
We are in the business of creating communities, and communities are, not successful if we are not giving it back to you. And I hope that we have been able to give something back to you with this particular session and all the sessions that has happened since morning. And I hope that you're carrying a bag full of learning, and I hope that it helped you make that choice of which course, which B school, which path to take in your respective lives. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.